there's 4 of us here,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
and we have minutes to go.
And then she seemed to think, Kathy Doherty said something to me about David Treadwell not making it.
Right.
Okay.
They all called me.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
Which I appreciate, and I told them each that I did, because it's always nice to know rather than get here and, oh, I wonder who's going to show up this week. I found a great wad of, what is it, barberry?
Oh, where? Do you have it, or?
No, right over here.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Oh, those are the little red ones they use for, like florists use? And
Well, I guess the birds really like them, but it spreads. It's one of the invasives. That's
Oh,
what they were trying to eradicate out back. It's the little thorny one with the red berries.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
that one.
Is that the survey?
Well, it's like firebush, they're so pretty. You know, you saw them, they're gorgeous, but they're invasive apparently. But I've never seen them spread.
Email.
Well, I don't, because I went through the New Hampshire Invasives
Yeah.
Yeah.
handbook, and it's in there. And I understand
I'll
that
send it to you. I just
it does
converted
take
it to a
over
Word
out,
document so that I can
in
use
the
same basic
forests.
format,
Yeah.
which
They
is
get on
good.
that marginal
So I will-
land and they just,
Sorry, yeah.
because they put out 1 billion berries every year.
When you see the firebush, though, they're beautiful. You know, a lot
yeah.
of people haven't, I have one in my yard, I bought one years ago, and it's beautiful, in October.
You talking about a euonymus?
The fire,
Is that euonymus? I'm not sure.
I don't know what they call it, the
I
Latin.
don't think Sam will ever forgive me for pulling mine out. I attached the car to it and drove because it's an invasive thing and I didn't want it in our yard.
Yeah, I have
I didn't
two,
like that idea.
but they have it, there's, I'm a mechanic, and there's two, and I planted
Drag
them
it down the road.
25 years ago, they haven't even grown that much.
Examples, all they do is-
Yeah, I don't think they get big.
Yeah.
They stay down there. And
Yeah, it's
They are
not
pretty.
spreading, it's not,
Yeah, it's funny because I don't think that euonymus really are invasives. I think that I've never seen anything where you see little tiny euonymus plants around in the woods. I've never come across them.
yeah.
So maybe they're invasive further south. Did you know that in
And
New
that's how the
Zealand?
world works, is
Yeah.
stuff spreads around. I mean, everything's invasive at some
In New
point.
Zealand, the hydrangea, those beautiful bluey purple things are invasive.
Hmm.
You're driving along and it's gorgeous and people are saying, ain't it awful?
Huh? Wow.
Yeah.
I trained
And
them
weeds
wonderful.
everywhere.
Yeah, they're beautiful though.
They are. So who
The
knows?
knotweed is invasive.
Yeah.
That, I don't know, I haven't driven anywhere in the country and haven't seen just everywhere.
Right, knotweed, well,
Yeah, that's-
buckthorn is
yeah.
another one that's,
It's just mad. Yeah, the little island over here, the buckthorn.
well, I saw on the north-south road, they mowed the edges of the road.
Yeah.
They went around
The knotweed,
the knotweed.
yeah, I saw that.
Going,
Yeah,
"Hey,
somebody
cut
thought they were a bush.
it." Right, isn't that pretty?
Yeah, or they didn't want to cut it to spread it. I wondered about it.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
have to ask the
Yeah, I kind of was like, why didn't they cut that?
town manager if they feel that that makes it spread out more.
But then they planted, where they planted on the other side of the road, what did they plant? There was an invasive there that they planted. I'm trying to think of which one it is. They're like, That's the state plant. Or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was Coleman.
Well, I guess we'll
We've got a quorum.
call this meeting to order. And we'll take a roll call, although I really don't need to do the roll call. I'll just write it down. Oh, so I have a confession to make. I lost the minutes of the last meeting. I have no idea. Not that we did a lot, but
Yeah,
we talked about having someone take minutes,
Right, and we,
and then we worked on the questionnaire. We're going through it.
yeah, do we have to, just by law or not?
So I
Well,
volunteered
so
to go through the
Betsy's gonna
references.
review
Yeah,
the,
yeah, just come up with something?
I was
the film.
inconsolable about having missed the meeting, so now
Right.
I can watch Jackson's League.
so I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Because what I do is I take my notes on the agenda,
Yeah,
because it's got the date on it and everything. And it's a piece of paper.
So I'll try to pull together what
Yeah,
appears
it-
to have happened.
it wasn't a lot that happened. The only thing we did discuss was, sending the minutes around in advance.
Right.
Yeah, and then we went through this part of, we went through the first so many pages of the vision and land use section. We revised it. We had gotten,
Yeah, so it's that part that it would be nice to be able to have.
yeah, and we got as far as, I don't know, mine was page 8 or 9.
The new land use folks didn't come in yet, have they?
Don't they usually come in January? I forget.
Did we order enough for everybody this year?
I don't know,
Oh.
I saw something came through, I passed it on and said that I'd like one. But
Yeah, because I remember emailing you, and you were asking who wants one. And I said, well, and I emailed you back saying, shouldn't everyone get one?
like a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess one would think everyone would want one.
Well, yeah, we
If
kind
they're
of
on
need
the
one.
planning board.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to always be the case.
And the office, I talked to them yesterday about a book order, and they were gonna get going on that
Great.
and get at least one for each.
Okay. Remember?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
One for each number.
Okay, so what do I have? Okay, the first thing, we have to do, okay, roll call. We're all voting. Any public comments? And then I have it's a release of a bond for Steve Miller, Cluster Subdivision. Burr Phillips wrote the letter. He inspected it, said they built everything according to the engineering.
Is that the one up on Juniper? Up that one? Yeah.
So that's how it goes. So it's
3 years ago.
Right,
Yeah.
we did it, yeah. And the first person moved in.
So he's asked for, to close out the bond, so I signed that. And I just signed the letter that Burr wrote, so that's there. We have a wetlands application. It doesn't seem, you've already signed
Yeah,
it.
we sent it on.
And it
Which
doesn't
one is that?
seem
There's
to-
been 2 in the last month, so is that up on
This one was.
North Hampshire?
I think it was. Please see the road agent for driveway permit.
It was a 6.5 acre parcel. The only thing they needed was a culvert to get on.
Oh, yes, and we had approved the land swap, remember, that was Gabrielle. They moved some boundaries, and he got a
Oh,
right-of-way.
that's
He
right.
got a
Okay.
strip that got him out to North Hampshire Ridge, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that allowed him then to develop it was a landlocked piece that he had. And the Traftons had been giving him access
From the other side. or
from their
something.
property, but it wasn't a regular right-of-way, and it was a long way from a road.
Yeah, I forgot that. Okay.
So that's what that one was, so I'm gonna sign that one up, put it through.
Hi, Karen.
Oops, sorry.
she wasn't gonna be here tonight.
She didn't call either Scott or me, I
I
think.
know, really, kind of feel left
I
out.
ran into her. I heard just in the store, at the grocery store.
Well, it says on the sheet there, they either call, give her call me.
Okay, good.
Hold those for-
Sure, no problem.
Oh, and then I've gotten a communication from Betsy about conservation mapping, conservation lands mapping. The only one I found was one
They're cold.
from Whitley
You want 'em right here?
Frost.
As long as they're not-
And I have no idea if that's on the,
Yeah, I was just speaking with Tara about it today. She said it's not a big deal because even if we just provide her the parcel numbers of each piece that is under conservation
Uh-huh.
easement from whatever source, whether it's state
Oh,
or
okay.
whatever.
well, I did that quite a while ago, not for her, but
Okay.
for some other project. And it's not too bad, you can come up with it.
Yeah,
Great.
so
Does
you,
the Conservation Commission have that?
we do,
Great.
yeah, so
Can
that's
you
all.
email me a list or something?
Okay. It's not like I have a list somewhere, but I can, I could probably come up with them all.
All righty, well, that would be great.
There are one or two I'm unsure of,
Okay.
and I'll put that in the list. The USVLT ones are real obvious,
Yeah.
and the SP&H ones, we monitor. There's a couple that the town have, and then there's one I'm not sure of, and that's the one that's off of Maloon Road, and I don't know if it's, what it is, whether it's a deed restriction or,
That, what I've just been,
and then Graustein Way, there was a deed restriction, and we're looking into it. But that's a big piece of property, the one up on Maloon.
yes, there's two, and one is just a house lot on the loom that gives them access. Part of it is landlocked, because they can't, what is it, they can't have public access through Maloon Road, because that's a private road, it's a private deal in there, and they don't want public access through
How is
that.
the dump there if Maloon Road's a private road?
Well, that's what the word was from the Upper Saco Valley Land Trust, because they're starting to discuss, that big chunk of property
Oh, okay.
to go into an easement.
Yeah, it's like 72 acres or something like that. You know who knows about it? And he told me, and I can't remember, it was a few years back, was John Piekowitz. He was
Oh, that's right,
involved.
he built that house.
Yeah, and he was
first.
involved in that when they made that development. They did that subdivision, and he knows about that piece. But there's a 72 acre something piece in there that's under some sort of deed restriction or easement. And I'm not sure whose name or,
So, you'll try to find out what you can
I
and
will.
email me whatever you can't
Yeah.
figure out or something?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the ones that we monitor, I just know off the top of my head in theory. And Upper Saco Valley, they gotta
Beacon
be,
monitoring.
yeah, we don't monitor those, but they must be pretty obvious. And then beyond that,
Well, I can get their holdings, well, we don't have
I
to
was
do that
looking
now.
for Whitley Frost's white notebook that used to be here with all her maps in them that may have come from.
that was from the Upper Saco Valley Land Trust,
Right.
and we all got a package, and I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, we don't have most of what Whitley had done here. But yeah,
How long, when was the last time you saw it?
2003, I think?
I mean, there's been,
Oh, last time I saw the white notebooks, it was only half a year ago, not long. I know I've talked with several people, I showed them to Forrest, I wonder if Forrest Bell still has them. Because I know I showed them to him when he was bidding.
So, do you mind if I ask, you said something about, they needed the granite information. That deals with the conservation easements. they just need to know what's in easements and what's protected?
Yeah, because it's gonna be, you know,
Yeah.
it'll matter in their build-out scenario
Right.
if they see 72 acres of buildable land.
Oh, okay. So they need to know every,
Yeah.
deed restriction and every,
Yeah.
yeah. Which they'll need town properties as well. I'll write myself a note to do that for you.
Okay, then I have a letter from North Country Council. And
Have we started? Is the meeting in progress?
In theory,
In theory. Did we have any minutes from last?
you weren't here for my confession.
The minutes are going to be coming out within the next week or so because they were LOST. And now they're going to be found on Jackson Click and converted to Word.
So this is, see, what I'm not sure of for the North Country Council is, now this is a copy of their, the signed agreement.
Good.
So it's all there.
I know the original expectation was that everything would be done by November. That's what that contract says.
Right.
I think unless they changed it, but,
Well, if we're having our first meeting in December,
yeah,
it's going to be hard pressed to,
right. I mean, we didn't meet any of our time commitments, so.
no.
and then in December, is that part of the, basically it's part of the build-out analysis are coming here and speaking with us?
Yes,
Okay, so it's all part of the cost.
it is. So one of my questions is, I know we were originally going to try to work toward having this survey go out in December, right after we got their build-out study in November. But it doesn't make much sense to me to send out the survey before we have the build-out study, I think, or do other people feel it does?
I don't think at all, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Would there be any changes made to the
To
survey?
the survey, possibly,
Possibly.
depending on the information we get.
Doesn't make sense to do it then.
Well, I think that was the idea, is the build-out, would give us idea of what questions to ask in the survey, so.
Would we provide the results of the survey as context for the answers? In other words, as a community member, my opinion as to whether we ought to do this or that might be based on what kind of potential build-out there is.
I think that could be a definite factor.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach, and getting that information out to everybody, I think, is really important. Because even if they don't track the survey, they may see the results and say, wow, I really want to get involved, or I'm concerned.
What does it cost to mail that survey if we didn't send it out with like the next tax bill and?
Well, and it turns out now that the tax bills are going to be available just online. You can sign up and just get your tax bill without getting it in the mail. So
Well-
that's not really going to be a reliable thing anymore. How will we know?
Okay.
You'd almost have to have a checklist to see who
Oh, I see.
requested it through email, and then try
So
to
we
You won't get
cover
just
the
need to
rest
do
of
it
the
on our
people.
own.
Could the
Yeah.
survey be, when you go online to view your tax bill, could there be, a link to the survey there?
Might not know who took the survey or didn't, though.
Yeah, and then that way we're also not sure who is a resident and who's a non-resident, and that could be important information too.
Well, that was one of the,
Well, you could have two
Correlations in the
different
last one.
surveys,
Right.
with two different links. And so the tax bills that were non-resident would link to one survey, tax bills to the other would.
Do you think they divide the tax bills up to resident and non-resident?
No,
I think we're probably
Yeah.
better off just to do it on our own.
just mail it.
Yeah, it's not that much money. I mean,
Yeah, what are we talking?
50 cents an envelope, I don't know.
You know, I know it, like at election time, to mail it to everybody on the list. I know Wogish did it, you know, he mailed out, so,
But he's not worried about getting in touch with people who own land but don't vote.
right, but nevertheless, you know, he
He
did,
did
what did he do?
field
He did
boxes.
800 or 700, but
Yeah.
I think it was 300 or a couple $100. So to get everybody, maybe it would be 400, 500,
Yes.
600, you know, something like that.
4 or
At
5,
least.
I think,
Yeah.
would cover.
Because we couldn't just do it to postal customer, we'd have to do it named, I would think.
Right.
Yeah, so we're talking
Right,
about
because many mailing addresses are out of town.
Right,
This is gonna happen after,
Yeah, we're a ways
Here
away,
anyway,
and all I can say is, it's all gonna happen as it happens. I don't think we can push it any harder than what we're doing. We have to do our homework
yeah.
and try to make sure everybody else stays on track, but I don't think it can go any faster than,
then my next question is, do we have to ask the taxpayers for the money at town meeting?
which money?
To mail $600 to,
Well, I don't know if
We
the-
have a budget.
we have
Not a big
15,000, but that was
What?
for this fiscal year, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's a non-lapsing.
Oh, use it or lose it?
Yeah.
It might be that we'd have to,
yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Go buy a bunch of stamps right now.
Yeah, yeah, the forever stamps.
Or stamped envelopes. I mean, we could purchase a sleeve of
it's a good point.
pre-stamped
Yeah, that's what I was
envelopes.
just wondering if we have to vote on it again, or just bring it up, you know, just put it on the warrant.
If we
Or
don't-
would it just come out of the regular planning board budget?
But we don't have much of a budget, I think it's $1,000.
It actually is usually around 6,000, but
Oh, is it?
that's not what we spend, because there are fees and so on, so what we actually spend is much less. But I think typically we ask for somewhere around 5,000 or 6,000.
Oh, did we have money for the master plan? Did the-
We did,
Yeah, did-
15,000 was allocated, I believe.
How much of that's going to North Country Council?
8,000.
Eight
right.
something.
Okay. So we would have money out of that?
Now, what about legal
This
Oh,
fees?
there'll be
Legal fees?
unexpended
Well-
funds.
Legal fees are part of our
Is it
6,000.
Calendar year, or is it,
Yes,
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Right.
You know, when does that
So I
go
wasn't
are we calendar year,
Why did I
physically
just
calendar
have
year,
that
or are
here?
we March to March?
on the warrant
It's
article?
right there on top.
I think it's March to March, but I can't swear to that.
Yeah, because the 15,000, we could, we've got a lot of money to spend, but we may have to spend it before December 31st, or,
I'll have to find out.
Yeah, it's 8.5 is our initial contract with them. So there would be some funds left, which would be good, but we don't have to do any printing anytime soon, because I don't think we're gonna have
Or we'd have to print the survey in
documents.
addition to envelopes and addressing.
And probably, now a place like Minuteman Press or other places probably, you just give them a flash drive with all the names and addresses that it'll go to, and they run it through the national address check, whatever it is. And they'll send it out, and that's probably the cheapest way to go. Especially since we don't need anything written on the survey other than, it'll just be the piece of paper that whoever it is, whatever company produces. So it probably doesn't make sense to do the envelopes first, because they do it all at one time.
Well, we should do I'll do the,
So it'd be good if it is through March 31st or something that our budget is, I don't know.
Or to see that whether we can, because the reason we are delayed is in part because the selectmen didn't act.
they lost the paperwork. It wasn't them, they didn't get the paperwork out of the office. It was the whole turnover thing.
Yeah.
Probably a moment of transition in the office now, too.
Yeah, we've had a couple.
I'm gonna say, damn those selectmen.
They'll have to have a bake sale
So I'm gonna look up when the money would lapse for the master plan that was
Yeah,
raised.
Julie should know anything on that. She's going to check it out.
Yep,
Oh,
that's
Julie.
exactly who I was
Good job. We have 2 Julies to pick up.
from. Right, Julie and Julie.
It was probably somewhere around $1,500 or something just to get that all out, I bet.
Counting the printing of the survey and the
Yeah.
mailing and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
might-
like that.
Okay. We have a nice letter from the Upper Saco Valley Land Trust informing us about a town of Denmark Pearly Mills Community Forest, but we're just on their general mailing list. I don't know if y'all are also, but anybody who would like this, then I'll leave it right here. Oh, this was the one up on Tyrell that we just went over. The lot line adjustment and now a wetlands to put the culvert under the road that, or the driveway that they're going to create. Seems to be well engineered. And now shall we go to work?
Betsy, did you have, in your email, you said there were issues that needed to be,
Right, actually, I've had a couple of emails lately from Tara. One of them was a question that, how strict are we about what it says in our zoning ordinance, the 500 feet either side of Route 16 A and B, A and 16, no A or B. Because she said that as she's looking at actual land uses against the zoning, that sometimes pieces of land that just have a tiny corner that's in the commercial district are actually all commercial use. And some places that are primarily residential but have a tiny corner in the commercial are taxed commercial, even though they're not commercial for the most part. And so I told her that I think sometimes selectmen may have approved something not realizing that it wasn't all commercial and that the whole parcel shouldn't be commercial or something like that, but that in general we are trying to adhere to the zoning at this time.
So if a land straddles two zones, what is it? What is it?
So as I understand it, let's say that for the tax bill, it should be, let's say that 1/8 of it is commercial and 7 is not.
You're just talking about the tax bill, not the usage.
Well, and so it's in concert to some extent, because if it's used as residential, even though a little bit of it is commercial, I think it's fine that you bill that little tiny bit as commercial, and that the rest is billed residential and used residential. But if you have a parcel of land that is zoned primarily residential with only a tiny bit commercial, and it's all used for commercial, what I said I thought she ought to do in that case was count it as a non-conforming use. That maybe it was approved before we had this particular type of zoning, or maybe it was approved by mistake or whatever, but if it doesn't conform with what we have written right now, I think we should count it non-conforming.
But if I own a piece of land that straddles commercial and residential, and I want to set, put a business on that piece of land, what by law can I not do?
As I understand it, what you could do is build your business on the parcel of land, the part of the land that is commercial, and the part that is not, you could put a shed on it, or a residence on it, or something rather, depending on the size of the land.
So do we run into this problem only up Route 16?
Well, it's,
Because that's the 500-foot.
yeah, but for example, maybe the Crows, part of their land I think is commercial and part is not, or there are probably some others around 16A as well as straight up 16.
I think we ran into that on something with the planning board, and the line was there, and you could only do the commercial on the commercial side. Was the way it was handled. And I don't remember the size of the lot and as to what was happening to the rest of it, but the fact that the line went through the lot became an issue.
So is that okay that she call that, you know, if it's all commercial on a partially residential lot, that she call that non-conforming? Go with that, okay. Then in addition, she wanted us to consider what possible zoning changes, you know, as part of their contract. It says that they'll look at the existing zoning that we have and consider what the build-out would be. And then it gives us the option of having one or two other zoning changes. So one of them, since for years we've discussed the idea of maybe having Route 16, say north of Eagle Mountain Road or some designated spot, become residential or become some kind of light commercial or some other distinction other than village district. Maybe we want to propose that and brainstorm some of the changes that we might want to choose that would be applied by a build-out study group.
One of the ones that we were talking about fairly recently was frontage.
Yeah, good point.
And that would be more towards promoting like affordable housing or something like
Right.
that.
But if frontage changed, how would that affect the build-out? And then the question is changing it to what?
Oh, it could be more build-out, right? If it were lessened, in other words, could somebody
Instead of having.
get 3 lots instead of 2, maybe, or, you know, where there's a
Yeah.
200-foot frontage, if they,
Yeah,
I don't know if it can be factored into a survey, but I've always thought it'd be nice that, kind of like, I think that the planning board has the ability to play with some road standards, or at least steepness or something, and frontage.
and frontage.
Because I think there are situations where if we allowed less frontage, we would actually potentially cause less development by not forcing someone to build a road, you know, into a property, and then therefore subdivide it further to pay for the road, or at least have a road there that's, you know, there for further further development.
And like Rover Road, you know, where they ended up having to build a fancy big road to be able to have something that was able to become a town road if that ever were to happen, you know. So it was a much bigger and more expensive road than they might have otherwise needed.
How about setbacks from the road?
Well, that's one of the other things, you know, if we were going to present a scenario to her, that would be, you know, a good scenario to present as well as the frontage, you know, to. My only problem with the setbacks is how to measure it, and I don't know if our ordinance is that clear, you know, where we measure from.
In my experience, at least, I would say you know, in terms of what limits development in situations that, you know, that we've worked on, I think it's frontage, I think would be the thing that most limits what people want to do. Probably, you know, soil intensity, you know,
Right.
what kind of land we require for a subdivision. And I don't think I can't remember any setback
Back
issues
issue,
that, you
yeah.
know, would have made a difference as to, you know, how much someone could do, but.
My lot's on, I lost my voice, so.
Yeah.
My lot's on a corner lot, so I get hit with 50 feet on both sides.
Yeah, and that seems wrong to me.
And, you know, it prevents me from, you know, wanting to
Yeah.
expand if I wanted to. you know.
Yeah, and that one seems wrong to me.
Yeah.
How you measure it, and there are people, there was the recent ZBA case where, you know, the gentleman had, you know, he was on a corner, so he was subject to 2 50-foot setbacks. It doesn't seem right,
No.
does it? It seems like you should choose what is the front. It's where the driveway is, or, that's what I would think is where it enters the property. But
What are
somebody
these
shouldn't be.
setbacks, I believe, is basically snowmaking, snow removal
Removal.
for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, is 50 feet too much, adequate?
It's a lot of,
You know, it's a lot of
It's
weight.
a lot of snow.
If you live on a corner lot, yeah.
yeah, no,
I don't know how
that,
you adjust that fairly, but.
no, I agree. You're, in that situation, I don't, it's not fair to the person who's on a corner lot.
Right, because the setbacks are specifically from 50 feet back from the road, but 25 feet back from the butter property line.
But when you say the
Well,
road,
Sideline.
The butter property line works, because
Right.
that's,
That's clear.
you know exactly where it is. But the road,
the road, is
sideline
it the
of-
ditch of the road, is it the road right of way?
It's the
'Cause we-
right of way.
Okay, so we have,
Sideline of any public or private road right of way.
but what is the right of way of a road? Isn't it measured from the
50 feet.
center line?
well, it's, yeah. Well, no, because it's
I
actually,
think it depends on the road.
it's,
How do you-
we had it up on Tyrol where the road wasn't even in the right of way. So the right of way is set. There are numbers that you can go to in a book and get where the right of way is. Now, where the road got put in is a whole different thing. So you can't really say from the center of the road. It makes sense, but if you went from the center of the right of way, which on most land maps you'll get to that, I don't think there's any place in Jackson that hasn't established what the right of way, what the town has for a right of way.
Well, it's still confusing to me. I mean, say you're gonna build on a lot, and where do you come up with the actual, where the line of the right of way on that?
Your surveyor can put an iron stake in
Yeah.
where your lot is and where the right of way is. Because I know if you're taking land out of, or putting it into current use or all those things, you bring that right of way out of it. You don't even have to deal with that. You don't get taxed on it. It's the right of way. That's the town business. You have the rest of it. A surveyor going in for a building lot can tell you exactly where that point is, because they've been established.
Right, but you need a surveyor to do, you'd need a surveyor to do that.
If there, I guess if there was a dispute, I mean, you
Yeah.
could pretty much find it if
Yeah.
you wanted to, find your points. You may have points and you could just measure yourself. I mean, I don't know how much every situation is.
Yeah.
So on the frontage, on the setback, for example, if we were to say at number one, something like, or to propose, of course, to the town, from the sideline of any public or private road right-of-way that provides access to the site, 50 feet, and from any abutter or other, or sideline of any non-access public or private road right-of-way, 25 feet.
That sounds good, I like that.
I understand it. I don't know how far into
Well, and
litigation.
we might
go.
change the wording into something that would work better, but that concept,
Mhm.
okay, so I'll just make some notes of things we might consider when it gets time to be.
But will that shape, like Scott said, but will that have any effect on development?
Well, not a lot, but it would
It
allow,
might, it might.
it would allow somebody to put
Oh.
in, maybe an accessory apartment, or maybe at least a
Yeah.
shed, or,
Okay,
something.
yeah, that is a situation where it's on a corner, it would.
And then frontage, we'd work on.
Well, frontage just allows smaller lots to be developed. So if the smaller lot exists, it's a moot point, because that's a lot of record.
Right, but if they're looking at, how many lots could this
Get out of.
50-acre piece be divvied up into the
Yeah, because so
frontage?
many times we're really working with the surveyor to try to figure out how he can do what he wants to do and yet still be
Like,
according to the
we end
letter.
up creating some very odd
Right.
lots
Right.
for frontage. And that's where, you know, whether it was reduced or whether the planning board had the ability to make some adjustments, you know, just to,
I've always liked the thought of the planning board having the ability to have some say in, you know, lot, frontage, and some say in, you know, a few other things where we could. So, you know, someone could go to the planning board to get an exception.
It has to be done by the ZBA, though.
Right, you'd
Right,
never
so
get
that-
that power to the planning
The
board.
planning
You
board.
could do it through the
Subdivision regulations is what I'm saying.
But once it's in the zoning ordinance, kind of hard to get it out.
you have to vote
Does
it
it have
out.
to be
or
voted
out?
vote it
You have to
out and then
What I know.
put it into.
Put it in the
Yeah.
subdivision. But that is a nice way to handle the 200-foot frontage, is to put it in the subdivision regulations, and this way you can do it case by case. You know, like Scott was saying, in some cases it might behoove us to have smaller, you know, frontage, so he doesn't have to put 4 more lots in to pay for the road. That's always the case, it's the road.
So is there a way to keep some amount of frontage in here, or do you recommend taking it out of the zoning ordinance entirely and putting it in?
Well, it depends, I guess my question is, can, you know, our build-up work with something like the planning board having the ability to modify frontage requirements, or is that just, how can you predict that?
Yeah.
So it might be for this purpose, you know, just asking them to do a, you know, if we propose that frontage be reduced from 200 to 100 or something, what would that do
Yeah.
for a build-out?
Right now, it's 150 for the village district and 200 for,
And this is just a scenario, that's all we're
Average
creating.
300.
That's all it is.
Yeah, we're just creating a scenario, so we could,
Be the number
Both for residential and commercial?
I was using easy math numbers, and so,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure that 100 is wrong, I just, you guys discuss it.
or reducing it, so the whole town was 150. I think that would be better, because if you have, right now it's 200, so you probably have a bunch of lots that are 200. Single family. If you said, well, what would happen if we reduce it to 100? Then all of these lots that are 200 with one house on it, oh, they could be divided, so that would be
Double.
skewed, that will really skew the build-out, I think.
Great.
So if you say 150, then that would only apply to very large lots. That would then be possibly subdivided, which is the kind of development that would be more likely here in Jackson, rather than somebody who's got a nice lot with one house on it. They would be unlikely to,
I think that's a really good point, that the 150 doesn't allow somebody with a 200-foot frontage lot, maybe they offset the house, boom, divide it to 100, get another house in. Then we really start getting density. But if they had the 200 and it was 150 feet, as you said, they
of course, that
can't
would
do
also
it.
depend on their soils.
Right.
Yeah, what the size of the lot has to.
But what I also like is, say, if we have a development and they do the cul-de-sac, and it goes out pie-shaped from there,
Yeah.
and you cut down on, why not? I mean, you're going to end up possibly, and it'd be nice to be able to review it at the planning board for on the proposal, but really, they're only coming together down at that one cul-de-sac, and then, you know, if the acreage is there, as you say, the area for their septics, it seems reasonable. And if you reduce that area that they had to have it on the cul-de-sac. Probably would perhaps have less cost
Yeah.
that would allow a more modest
Right now, we can
development.
do, with a cul-de-sac, a shorter frontage of not less than 100 feet.
Mhm. I'm sorry, I won't do it. That's the first time that ever happened.
What is that too?
How do you make it stop?
I don't know.
I know how to make it stop, throw it out the window.
Was that the theme song too?
Stop it, stop it.
You should,
Was that a TV show or?
Oh, I just found it on
Oh, yeah.
the
Sounds
Whistler.
familiar.
So I put, I'll be the Whistler.
Okay.
I can turn that off.
Purse your lips when it happens.
So did she want,
Pretend.
did she want more than one scenario? Like, we're doing a scenario that we're reducing to, you know, did she want the opposite as well?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Just something that we thought we might.
Might do.
Yeah, might end up
Okay.
passing, or that the town might really be in favor of, or
Okay.
that we might ask a survey question about.
And you said that part of what we've already contracted for is 1 or 2 additional?
I think so. I'm not sure I brought it with me, but I believe they were willing to, after they did the survey, that then they could just plug in maybe some minor changes that would then produce a different look to it.
And was there so we had 4 different things that we wanted to look
I
at.
think 2 were included.
Is there a quote list?
Yeah, optional additional steps. Is that what we're really looking at? Conduct a community visioning session, public workshop. Something called a regulatory audit, which is a review of the master plan and land use regulations.
You gotta stay away from kids, John.
You got it?
Oh, I've got it too.
Oh, you do?
Thanks.
Okay.
as I recall from my reading of it, that it hadn't been included in specifically in the contract.
Okay. I'm not seeing it so far. I think you're right.
I remember questioning it before we.
So what can we expect from when, like, do we want to put together some questions to ask? I can't come up with her name, I don't remember.
Karen, yeah.
Karen, when she comes on the 12th.
That was why I emailed her in the first place. What should we be thinking about?
12, 7.
Yeah, you didn't get that.
Yes.
And actually, there was no time, was there? on that? Did we?
All right, you get it.
7
Oh,
o'clock.
okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
7,
Is the 12th of the regular planning board?
Yep.
okay, great.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town that day.
I will bring any questions you have forward.
Or just in her answers.
Right.
Well, we'll get those too. and By then, we'll have somebody taking really good notes. Hank will be here.
I want to spend another evening watching it.
Okay, so I must have misunderstood her question about the possible zoning ordinance changes. I'll write her that we might consider changing frontage to 150 feet uniformly through the town. But would she plug that in as an option, and is that an additional cost, I guess is what I'd ask. Is that okay? Great.
And were you going to ask about up on Route 16 as far as maybe changing that? You had mentioned.
Well, that didn't get a take from
You
anybody.
didn't get a response from the table?
No.
Okay, I
I mean,
didn't.
it's just something we've discussed over the
Yeah.
years, the survey.
Well, it'd be
advocated
easy
it.
enough to look at their build-out and
Yeah.
then say, well, if this portion were not in the village zone.
That's a good point.
Because that wouldn't really change.
Wouldn't change the rest of the
Building.
town.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true.
especially it wouldn't change if we're asking for 150 feet uniform.
It would just change the,
Yeah.
right, it was consistent.
Yeah.
It would just change the usage.
I had one too, but I lost it.
But
What do you say?
that's yours.
That
This is
map.
yours.
That's
Oh,
yours.
that was mine?
Yeah.
But if we can get, you know, if no alternate is included, you know, if it just tells us what it costs to do, I don't know if it'd be different for frontage versus setback or something, but if it's all the same, then you can say it's $200 per, you know,
Yeah,
and then we
It
can
would
decide
just
how
be a-
many it's worth.
it'd be just another run on for the computer.
But again,
Just
And
change- you just
probably
change the
setback wouldn't
parameters.
be something that they could go into enough, because I think that the granite system does not locate where the house is on the property. So the setback might not be something that they
Yeah,
would.
setback is gonna be really lot dependent.
Right,
Yes,
there are
to-
very few lots probably that would affect much about.
Because
Okay.
she's probably not, when we look at a lot, we're looking at a lot, the soils, the vegetation on it, the topography.
And that's
all
the
those
same kind of
different
thing she'd be
factors.
looking at. Okay,
But she wouldn't be looking at it in the specific detail that somebody who had a particular lot was trying to figure where he's gonna put his house.
right.
would look at.
is there any other zoning?
That would affect the build-out?
I mean, there's just the amount of land we require.
Other than this, other than those, or the way we do septic. It would be the only other big change.
Yeah, the soils.
And I doubt we're gonna
the
change
soils.
that.
Well, that's not gonna change.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna decide to change that.
In a way, that's our, if we don't change it, that little speck of difference is what we do as a incentive to have somebody put in workforce housing. Because they can use the state's septic approvals and soils acceptances or whatever, rather than the way that Jackson. would
Which
have
are
it.
less stringent.
Less stringent, exactly. So I think of nothing else.
Should we keep working on the questionnaire?
We,
Questionnaire or the master plan?
master plan, we were on like.
Oh, we're on the master
Yeah.
plan, right?
We left, whatever page it is, I might have the different page numbers.
What section is it?
We were on vision and land use, because that's the only thing I actually downloaded.
Yep.
And we left off on economy goal. We did the last one with the village character goal.
Okay, that's what I figured, because that's when I noticed that.
Yeah. We might be able to get through some of that.
What page is that, Scott?
4. Yeah, mine's saying page 8, so that's why.
You're on a different page, Larry.
No, I'm on the same page, but I've got a different number for some reason.
Well, that's right, counting all the previous.
Nonsensical, cover pages.
Adoption cover pages. But in the actual document, it's page 5.
So as we go through, are we,
Well, what we did at the last meeting was we went through literally page, line by line, and we realized that most of this is fine, And so we decided to update some, things, and because they're just out of date. And then in other places where they don't pertain anymore, we've removed something or deleted it, or changed the wording of, or, and we said, why not use what we have? So we were, like regulatory goal, we said that we may need to move it to another location rather than where it is in the vision statement.
So in general, if we get to an objective and we've done it already,
We're gonna delete it.
we deleted it and.
Unless it's something that says to maintain.
Okay. And do you want to, are we going at all to any sort of priority for anything?
At this point, we're just going through to decide on the wording
To keep it
as to whether it's
relevant.
in or out, or it needs to be changed.
Okay.
Um, Here's very few, and actually, Betsy, I can go through with you those 4 pages as to what we changed.
Great, I was going to ask if either you or Larry could loan me your book
Oh.
or
Can check.
whatever.
We'll do what?
If I'm going to be trying to make sense of the minutes and so on.
Oh.
It would be helpful to have one of those.
Oh.
But, Sarah and I
Oh,
can look at
the
it.
annotated one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not many.
okay, great.
Yeah, I can do it. Okay. Economy goal? Is that where we are?
I think so.
Okay.
Looks like a keeper so far, the headline, everybody. So, in this one, the objectives, do we still need the support and encourage the development of a high-speed internet connection? Economy goal? I don't know what,
Page 5.
yeah, I'm not on the right line, just.
No, I'm with you, yeah.
Page
It's the
you
third
were down.
objective.
I'm on page 5.
Yeah.
Someone said village character goals.
That's what I thought I heard too.
Oh, maybe I did, and I said that was the last one we did.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're on economy goal. So the only question I have is in the objective is the third one down.
So
Support.
you're feeling we pretty much have that throughout the town?
Do we?
right?
I think we
mean,
do.
I-
High-speed internet throughout the town, I don't,
I know I get it through Fairpoint, and if I
I
get
get
it,
it.
I'm assuming anybody can.
Yes, yeah.
yeah. So I think we all, I think
There's
that's
a-
not a goal any longer.
Either through Fairpoint or cable,
Yeah.
Right.
seems like.
So that one,
People don't have it, probably choose not to have it.
Right.
right. Right, like B. Yeah.
Then the last 2 objectives under the second policy probably need to be reworded.
Well, why don't we just talk about, I would guess we could leave off that middle one and just say regularly update the capital improvements program.
Right. Instead of developing.
Get rid of the determined 10-year.
Yes.
Because that's part of the capital improvements plan.
I think so.
Okay. Move that, and then to continue to
Research and potential impact.
maintain an updated capital improvements plan.
Even that first one is really outdated now.
Yeah.
Basically, they found that impact fee ordinances don't really help. They're very, very complex.
Well, I was going to ask, where is there a situation where we've even dealt with that? In
Yeah, I
impact
mean,
fee?
it would be the kind of thing if we had a Holiday Inn coming in or something like that, but that's, where they had a whole lot of
because they would need to
employees or
improve the
something,
road and,
Yeah, need a big traffic light or something or other. So that's not likely.
So,
do we want to remove it?
I'd take away that objective.
So there's one policy and one objective, to develop a capital improvements program as, or annually, or
to
something like that.
Maintain,
Okay,
maintain and
maintain it.
update it.
Okay, that's good. Maintain and update.
That's not a second copy.
No,
No.
you have,
You don't have a copy?
No, that's what I lost, I guess.
no,
I
it's
got one.
right in the center of the table, you took it
Yeah,
back.
that one's yours.
That was
Oh,
yours.
okay, that is mine. Never mind.
One of them
Lied,
says Bennett.
lied. I was lying, lied,
Is that yours?
yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Going back to the first policy.
Yep.
Yep,
And then the overall goal, it talks about the development of low-impact, small-scale businesses. In the, under the objectives of the first policy, it talks about home-based, strength and resource-based farming, forestry, skiing, et cetera. But I wonder if, if there ought to be any eye to, more professional type businesses that are more like office type businesses that, are still low impact, but, if you look at property values in Jackson, there aren't many home-based businesses that are going to allow somebody to afford to live in Jackson.
Mhm.
If that's really their occupation. And, in terms of sort of sideline discussions about affordable housing and Jackson having an aging population, the whole area having an aging population, Jackson looking at, perhaps not enough students to support its school. There's certainly, if it were possible, I think a good reason to try to encourage more jobs that are in line with property values, whether it's here in Jackson or just in the area.
Mhm.
But, I think, I don't know what potential there is for someone to set up a law office in Jackson or a software company or something like that. But,
So not in somebody's home.
well, I suppose it sort of could be, but it'd be more than just a person
Mhm.
doing something out of their home. It'd be,
I mean,
more
someone who's
professional.
devoted, I know of one business right now where his office and operations is set up over his garage.
Mhm.
It's not in the house
Where are
itself,
you
but
talking
it's
about?
on a residential
Yeah.
lot, and so he,
Right.
So it's a
and-
home-based
and
business.
So that something like that, someone may be able to support themselves, but to provide jobs within the community that would allow people to, to move into Jackson, live in Jackson, have a family in Jackson, and work in Jackson, would require a different type of job, or job opportunity than we currently offer.
Mhm.
And, if,
it'll probably be somebody who then is, working from home, or there are other terms for that.
well, and I
remote-
guess,
Remote commuting.
I guess what I was, we talked about Route 16 and whether we should
Mhm.
keep it commercial or change it to residential. And I guess I fully understand and sympathize with the idea that we don't want, s- a lot of retail along Route 16. I personally, not living on Route 16, would have a lot less of a problem if there was a little software company or a law office or something like that along Route 16.
Right.
And just to me, those type of businesses could be attracted into town one way or
Like
another.
a psychiatrist or a,
Right,
yeah.
then Jackson's actually starting to provide jobs that would allow someone to buy a piece of property and buy a home in Jackson.
And live in Jackson.
Bring
So,
the family.
so set an objective as, let's word it,
Small business.
Yeah, encourage the establishment of,
Non-retail,
well, and I also think trying to set up on his land, little boutique kind of things. That's another thing that we might try to
Well, he's
encourage.
saying non-retail, encourage the
Well,
establishment
I
of-
guess I was trying to be sensitive to the residents of Route
Right.
16,
But-
because that's really where most of what land we have that's not already being used for commercial
Or a
use,
strip mall or something.
you
Yeah,
know, and so
so encourage the
I
establishment.
wouldn't have a problem with a, little Ravenwood kind of place, along Route 16, but.
People
Well,
up
so
there would.
But-
Maybe there are two different things. Encourage the establishment of compatible home-based businesses throughout the town in appropriate locations.
Okay.
And in commercial areas, office space and small business space, or something like that.
So we're adding on here something like encourage the establishment of non-retail office, professional.
Type businesses.
Professional,
I don't think
Office
you want to
space.
say non-retail necessarily,
Okay.
just small business.
Well, it could be a
Because-
website, someone that's
Yeah.
running a website that,
There's
requires more than just a computer at home, that requires
Needs a
staff and everything.
Staff in a
Yeah,
warehouse or
and
something.
that would be a retail
so encourage the
business.
establishment of professional,
Office,
Yeah,
A
office,
small
office
business
space for,
professional.
employment, professional employment.
I don't know how you divide, a retail business like a website and a retail business like a brick and mortar store. I think I think Jackson could use more shopping as
the
well.
village certainly could.
And it would, I think it would both provide jobs, it would help the businesses that are already in town that provide some sort of shopping.
Chain stores, I want to avoid though.
well, that's
They
why,
won't
if you
care.
say small business,
Yeah, they won't here.
that
Well,
would,
how about phrasing it, encourage the establishment of compatible home-based businesses throughout the town in appropriate locations and of small offices and retail establishments in commercial districts. So retail businesses,
Independent retail.
Independent, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, independent retail in commercial.
in commercial districts. Okay.
so what do you have?
We could say encourage the establishment of compatible home-based businesses throughout the town and in appropriate locations, and of offices and independent retail businesses in commercial districts.
Do you want to do that all in one objective or just have a separate one?
I think all one is okay.
You could do either or, it doesn't, whether it's a run-on sentence or not, doesn't matter that much.
Now, one thing people have talked about over the centuries too is the fact that there used to be, 3 gas stations in town, or who knows how many. And now we have one non-conforming use gas station. Is that something that we want to propose to the town changing?
We don't want a gas station in town. Not with the
Water
Wildcat,
hazard.
and our water source is that river, and the Wildcat is protected. Man, this town is so nice, the fact that we don't have a gas station. I hate to say that, but how hard is it to drive down to Glen or Bartlett or, just for the environmental, if nothing else. That one did leak at one time, and they had a hell of a ground recovery. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I know that's come up, I just can't think of why.
Yeah.
Well, it's a hardship for Johnny Chase, trying to sell it or whatever.
Well, this is grandfathered though, isn't it?
Yeah, but, the
can't-
way it's structured, he can't ever sell it as a place
It's
to go
almost
in and buy.
impossible to sell there.
Is
Yeah.
it?
It's
You-
almost
you-
impossible to sell.
You're not gonna find somebody who's gonna wanna go in and, open up a place, or have that business, because you can't sell a cup of coffee or a chocolate bar or whatever, and,
Why can't you?
because no fast food.
Well, depends
If food has to be consumed on
Right,
premise,
okay. Yeah.
so it can't
So he
be,
has M&Ms available, but that's about it.
they're free.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not a viable business to, as a gas station and a repair shop?
It's a repair shop that happens to have some gas, and there's no way you could possibly support any business on just gasoline.
Right,
sales, and the margin-
Right.
You're right.
Margin on gasoline is almost
Not, right,
zero.
you're right there. But
Especially if it's credit card sales.
Yeah, especially he gets it filled once a month or whatever and has the high prices also.
So what you'd be suggesting then is that we would ease up that ordinance to allow for
7-Eleven.
several, yeah.
There are, when was the last time, other than Don, when was the last time you saw a gas station?
Right,
Yeah, they just don't exist.
Service station.
right, there ain't no service anymore.
You know, I mean, I wouldn't be behind promoting something like that in this village. This is too.
Well, I just wanted to bring it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea to bring up and discuss. It's just, it's so pristine and then you got it.
I mean, having a sort of a hometown or village mechanic, I think is kind of nice.
It's terrific.
But
Yeah.
you can't
Had
really.
a,
It's
just
hard
had a
to-
sheetrock
hard to
screw
make
in
a
my
business.
tire this morning. God, thank God he was there. I didn't have to drive far with that sheetrock screw in my tire.
I mean, it's darn hard to make that a go of
Yeah.
that a going business. And I realize it's not our role to solve everybody's problems with their businesses, but it's certainly something to consider.
It's a good amenity for the town to have that service.
Could someone set up a mechanic shop under our current regulations?
Yes, I think so.
I mean, like someone who repairs
Yeah.
small
Or even
appliances.
Well, you've got a car.
The mechanic I know well who works for Donnie is Rick, and he would buy that in a heartbeat if he had the money, because that's what he is. He's a mechanic, and he can make a living as a mechanic. I mean, of course you can.
But I think just the idea of having a car mechanic, a place where you can bring your car in town, I think to me, there's some value to that, someone you know.
But we don't need to change an ordinance.
I don't know that we need to have gasoline sales necessarily in town. I think I agree with you there.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
We have gasoline close enough that we don't really need that in town, but having a hometown place to bring your car.
What worries me the most about the gasoline is that the only corridor is the Ellis River, which is our water, it's my water source. And the other corridor is the Wildcat, which is this, protected, wild and scenic center of our village. If there was ever an accident,
Well, with all the tank trucks that run up through the
Yeah,
notch,
yeah,
I mean,
it's-
it's just a
it's a concern.
situation waiting to happen because there's not much we can do about it. Those trucks aren't for us in this town, they're,
And really, I guess there's no reason why he couldn't sell some sort of, sodas and candies and so on, because it says, but business is primarily engaged in sale or lease of prepared food, primarily for consumption outside the building. So if he had a gas station and he also sold coffee and whatever, that would be fine, I should think.
But again,
Yeah.
unless you're running a 7-Eleven or a mini grocery store, I
Yeah.
don't think you could, the amount of income you can get from some coffee sales and things like that.
well, he's down to square feet, how many square feet of
Yeah.
space he's got, and he doesn't have enough for that type
Right.
of retail.
The only way you're gonna make it is like Cletledge, where you're offering sandwiches and,
Mhm.
it's a lunch place.
Right.
It's got quite a following.
So again, I think it's a good reason to say no to, when we say gas, we really mean 7-Eleven, because that's all there is now. I think, I'm behind saying no to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But allowing someone to have a service shop, like,
Yeah,
what Jason's.
well, that's already allowed, I
is,
think.
like, maintaining that possibility, would be
need to add that anywhere for any reason, or an economy goal.
Well, and that was my question, if I wanted to set up just a service shop somewhere in town, is that currently?
Yeah, I should think so, because it says we allow professional and/or commercial businesses, so that would be a commercial
Yeah.
business.
I'm not selling gasoline,
Mhm.
so I don't know that that needs to be addressed.
So we move down to municipal. We probably don't have to touch the first one.
What is our situation with 911, emergency communications? Because we got all our roads up to snuff as far as,
Yeah, this might be outdated, that.
is the whole thing outdated?
I would think so.
Which we're talking about.
So
The
policy
second
on the
policy,
bottom.
the about to change 911 emergency, it might just be outdated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think that first one under the first policy, providing adequate space, I think we still need that, because
Yeah,
the police department, I know, has sometimes expressed
They're pretty pinched down there.
the fact that they feel crowded.
Right, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying that we have to provide the adequate space.
right.
And it may be that we've achieved that, but
Well, we may
the
not have.
idea is that we want to continue
Yeah.
to provide it.
Yeah.
So,
If you've ever
yes.
sat in that police department down there,
Mhm.
there's not really adequate space.
Fortunately,
tiny.
I don't have that experience, so.
Well, I haven't sat, I've sat down and talked to Carl. I am friends with our police.
By choice,
Yeah.
in this case.
He has a holding room, but I've never seen it down there.
Well, there's a cell downstairs.
Yeah, I've never seen the
It's like
cell.
this. It's a cage. It's really, it's a cage, yeah.
I've never seen
Can't
it.
stand up in it, but it's a cage.
Huh?
So it's not even closet size. huh?
Really? Yeah.
No, it's a-
'Cause he told me
it's a
there's one
cage.
over there.
And then right next to it, outside the cage, is the
Huh.
bench, the workout area.
Workout area.
And,
But they will need room at some point.
And the gun
I
locker.
haven't seen anybody when I've gone down to
As well as
check
the-
out a map.
As well as the
there
fire
hasn't been anybody
department may
sitting in
need
the
to
cage so far.
expand down the line. And
Well, downstairs is what, it's storage and
Police department.
police.
Right.
But is there room in storage to be able to expand the police department further?
There is potentially, but there's also some storage items in there we need to get rid of to make that available. So,
And we still have stuff up in that safe, don't we, in school?
oh, we haven't got that out of there yet.
What?
I thought somebody already cleaned that out.
Did they? I don't know.
They had the library folks did that.
Where did they put it?
I don't know.
Well, none
Okay,
of
so
it's-
A lot of documents in that room.
Sorry.
Probably in the basement here.
Yeah.
has there ever been a real inventory of town-owned lands, the policy at the top of page 6?
Sure. there is.
Yeah, well, let's get rid of the developer, the master plan of Gray's Inn. We have an inventory of town-owned lands.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is on
Yeah.
page.
Yeah, it might be in this, right?
Yeah, I just went through that.
Yeah, that we
land.
have.
I remember doing that. Yeah, page 29.
I don't, the next one I have, I'm not sure what we can do with develop a
So-
master plan for the
Okay, well,
utilization.
wait a second, because still on that is, and determine the potential and optimal uses for each parcel. Is that something we still want to go with?
Isn't the build-out people gonna do that? And tell us what kind of potential we have?
Well, this
don't know
town
if they
owned
are.
lands.
They don't do anything with the town.
I don't know.
I don't know how you could determine the optimal use of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
property. I mean, it's, you have a need, and a piece of property that suits that need.
Right.
And decide
Use
to
it.
use it or not.
Yeah.
Another
There are
thing
certain
is-
pieces we can't, Prospect Farm, you can't do anything with.
Why don't we
Jim.
say something like this, as town-owned lands, or as needs develop that might be suitable for town-owned lands, assess, or something or other.
Inventory the town on lands and
We've
determine
already
as
inventoried.
As needed.
needed, determine the potential and optimal uses for each parcel as needed,
Or as needs arise.
or as needs arise, or something, yeah.
Or
Um,
list restrictions of use like that, you know, if there's property like Prospect Farm that we can't do something with, then that might be more informative. Just, you know, as part of the inventory,
Can we
what restrictions there are for particular pieces.
Can we remove the next one and include it in the first one? Meaning inventory the town-owned lands and determine the potential and optimal uses for each parcel as needs arise, and now remove the develop a master plan
Optimal uses and limitations.
and limitations. Okay,
Yeah,
I like that. And limitations for each parcel.
Particle.
Yeah, parcel.
And on the master plan, I think we just say continue to develop and revise the master plan in 10-year increments, whatever it says.
For Gray's Inn properties?
But this will eliminate the Gray's Inn property part.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's,
So develop a master
Well,
plan.
do we have a master plan for Drazen?
I don't think we really do, and that's one of my hopes that we'll end up with, at the same time we have this.
wasn't that what that is?
It is.
It was never adopted, it was never anything formally
Yeah.
agreed to. This is Burr Phillips' design on what he thought made sense, I think, and he had 2 or 3 designs.
Yeah.
And so everybody just sort of said, nothing, as he's told me, nobody ever adopted it or said this is better than that or anything.
All right, that's a second go-around.
Third go around.
Third go-around.
There were 3.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So I would hope that with this,
We don't have to put Gray's Inn property in there, but we could just leave what you're saying about inventory the town-owned lands and determine the potential and optimal uses for each parcel as the needs arise.
okay,
And we could remove develop a master plan for the utilization of
but let's do it.
what? So-
Let's complete the master plan for Gray's Inn and come up with something or other that could be part of this master plan and say that this is something, you know, this is what we propose.
You would like to propose a master plan for Gray's Inn property?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like us to decide, yes, that's what we like, or no, this is what we like, or whatever. Now that we've got.
Not as the need
library-
arises.
No, I'd like to see us say,
Hmm.
here's the Gray's Inn property, we've got all these different master plans, this is the one that we think makes sense, and have a public hearing, and have people say yea or nay.
well, for me, it's incorporated in town-owned property. We should have the same master plan for all the town-owned property and look at it all. Okay, we can't do any development at Prospect Farm, but it can be a fine recreational area for the town of Jackson. There's still been questions on who gets a key, who can use it.
Whether or not there's a parking lot. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, that's a development of it.
But anyway, I think it could be incorporated in a master plan of town-owned property. And I agree, I think then it should be formalized, and then we bring it to the town and say, okay, you know, here are the ideas. Let's nail one down.
Well, that would then include Gray's Inn garage property, which might be a useful thing.
Town-owned properties.
That's
I
not a
make
bad
no
idea.
exceptions.
It's not a bad idea.
So maybe something like, an objective could be something like, with citizen input, develop
A master plan.
master plan for town-owned lands.
Yep.
Utilization of town-owned properties. about the next one with bring into compliance municipal facilities such as the town hall and library? Do we need to have that in there?
No, that seems gone, doesn't it?
Is,
Just leave the such as phrase out.
and just edit it municipal facilities?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we need to develop and implement a plan? Should we just say, continue to ensure that that municipal facilities comply?
No, that might be fine.
Or just say, add instead of such as, to say to bring into compliance municipal buildings which do not already comply.
Do we
Okay.
have any that already comply?
I mean, the what, they don't?
Right.
I don't know any.
I mean, anything moving forward has to comply.
Right, as far as code and that kind of thing.
Yeah, the
that's
old,
what
the
you
old
need with
library.
handicap.
We'll have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a ramp though. So just looking at the list of buildings, well, Grace Inn Garage,
Yeah, but
town offices, town.
what does it
hall.
comply to? You know, it's not publicly used. Yeah, that's not a
Is the
public.
highway and fire building, is that,
I think it must be.
can you get to the top floor?
Can you get what?
To the top floor without going upstairs?
Oh, the
Oh.
fire one.
Probably
Have
not.
that pole, right?
Oh, yeah, I might be able to.
Oh, you're talking about here?
Both.
The,
Both,
Fire and.
oh, both. There's an upstairs in that, and it's not accessible, handicapped accessible.
I haven't been in the new one.
And upstairs in the new one is not?
Not upstairs. I
No.
don't think there's access to upstairs compartments.
But it's not open to the.
It's not really open to the public. I mean, it's not, I mean,
What is it used for?
storage,
Storage?
tools, you know,
Oil.
oil, yeah, things you need. I mean, it really wouldn't be public use. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's a public town building. It's really not used
What
for the
about the
public.
fire
because-
department? Is that
Again, I don't know what the, you know, I would imagine that all public buildings have to be
Be
handicapped
handicapped
accessible, but that's weird that they did not make the fire department that way. But again, I don't know what the regulations are for that.
yeah.
But maybe it's just because the second floor space is
Is
only for
offices.
meetings.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Not many firemen are needing to be in wheelchairs.
Well, we do have one ambulance person who is pretty
Yeah.
handicapped.
Yeah, yeah, she's gonna have a hell of a time getting up. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, do they use it for anything else now? The little, they used to have kids up there like for Halloween, or do they don't do that anymore, do they?
Pretty much office space up there.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
They did
They
open
just have
house,
their
they
own
did open
meetings.
house there and meetings
Yeah.
and things like that, but I don't know, it's interesting. I don't know why they don't have to follow that.
So it's interesting, they don't really talk about the land at Gray's Inn on this inventory here.
Is it just considered part of this property?
Well, I mean, even the property isn't really dealt with as, well, I mean, I don't see it.
No, it should be.
I don't have that, so also, we do have a list of town.
Well, in our new updated inventory of town-owned property,
That's right.
we will have that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's not even on there.
And then there's a small piece up off of the old Jackson Road that was deeded to the town, I think from the Perrys. At the time, I think Arthur felt that it would help in maintaining the road in there. I
Mhm.
think it was the swing for the plow or something.
I don't even know where that is.
Old
Yeah.
Jackson Road?
And that was a difficult road area because that's as you're going up Route
Route
16,
16,
right
yeah.
before you get to Ridge Road, there's
Right.
Old Jackson Road that goes up and it's a very sharp turn into it.
Oh, and it's right
It's
there,
right there.
It goes up.
That way.
but it's right there at the town-owned piece?
Yeah, I think they were deeded the corner
Corner?
there, a little triangle.
Oh,
That sounds right.
just for plowing and,
Turnaround.
For
Sure.
access,
Oh.
yeah.
I don't know, I'm not aware of that, but.
yeah.
And
So,
then with the old transfer station.
That was.
That'd be
Yeah.
something to, you know, well, if we approach it, maybe some ideas will come forward
Right, for the,
and it'll start being upgraded rather than downgraded.
yeah, well, they are working on it.
Yeah.
Slight, yeah, but that's true, we should have a master plan for it.
Yeah.
It would be nice, yeah.
and so basically we need to make sure that if there are any other town-owned parcels that have been taken by tax sales or whatever, we should be sure that we're including them. Does the office keep an inventory of all that?
Yeah, there's not many though.
Okay,
Yeah, we try to avoid doing that as much as possible.
Right.
okay.
But it does come up occasionally that a landowner would let the land go to the town in lieu of taxes.
And so the Whitney Center would probably be listed as part of the grammar school.
Yeah, I don't know how that
Right.
DD
Yeah,
works.
it said barn. And then we changed the Jackson Library to Old Library and have the new Jackson Library.
Okay, how long do you want to go, folks?
I'm gonna need to leave shortly.
My
In case.
Second.
I'm happy with
theories
that.
of meetings that we're running right to the edge of productivity.
Mhm.
Not- That's a bad thing, but, and we keep picking away at it.
I'm happy to quit. Sarah,
I
your
second
wording,
that.
Right.
Sarah, your wording at the upgrade
that a
and bring into
motion?
compliance municipal facilities, was there, I know we were scratching such as the town hall and library, were we adding anything there as needed or not anything at all?
I was gonna say, just add the word any, develop and implement a plan to upgrade and bring into compliance any municipal facilities.
Okay.
Which do not already comply. That's what I
But again, do we have any that don't comply? I mean,
Well, we may have just, could be the fire department.
well, that's true. Gotta get an elevator.
Yeah,
Right.
gear down.
I don't want to press that one.
No,
No, no.
but just put any. Again, this isn't, we said this at the last meeting, this isn't what we're absolutely going to do. This is basically a wish list
Right.
of things that we need to look at.
Right.
Yeah, so
It
it's-
keeps the dialogue going.
Go, yeah, so we,
We're not going to implement all.
But
Right.
if there are any instances where something's already been implemented or where we can quickly do a little bit of work and implement them now, then great.
yeah.
The master plan is also used as backup if there are issues, even legal issues, as to, well, what does the town intend? And so this is our intent. You know, our
Right, are you
intent.
being arbitrary and saying, I
Right.
can't do that?
Right.
put in a gas station. And we've established that that's the wish of the town.
I mean, a master plan, the planning board is supposed to use the master plan in its planning, but ultimately because the town votes on anything that the planning board proposes, I don't know that a town vote can be declared illegal because it strayed from the master plan.
Because the master plan is just adopted by the planning board.
Right, but, so I guess I'm
It's a
not sure
backup.
what legal restriction or
No,
determination the master plan actually has.
what I'm saying is it can be a reference
And the
In-
ZBA
in a-
uses
in
it
a-
as a reference.
in any ambiguous
Right.
situation.
Right, and I would think wherever someone's making any kind of variance, that's where the master plan might have a stronger role.
Well, I'm good.
We could probably leave the next
done it that
policy
way.
just to get one squeezed in just the way it is, right?
I'm sorry?
I said the next policy, we could.
We could squeeze it in. Yeah, I thought that, yeah.
Well, you probably even get to the bottom of the page. Things are good.
So I would accept a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Hank, you all right with the end of the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. We are only spectators, so.
So the conservation easements aren't already in this, somewhere in the back.
They,
Yeah, I just want, yeah.
the ones that are in there.
I've got to get a copy of that.
This was done in 2003 or
Oh, okay.
2001 or something or other, so many of them are there, but some have also been added
Oh.
since then.
Okay.